Hey guys, just before we get to today's clip, just a quick reminder for all Serie A fans in the UK and Ireland, you can now stream every single match live on OneFootball. No matter which team you're backing, OneFootball's got you covered. You can watch via the OneFootball app on your phone or connected TVs from Apple TV, Google TV, Samsung, LG, and Fire TV, or on the website tv.onefootball. And what's even better is that you can choose how you watch it. You can grab a team or a season pass to watch all the matches until the end of the season, or just the ones from your favourite club. There's also a match day pass for £9.99 to watch all the weekend's games, or a single match on pay-per-view for £4.99. And yeah, if you missed a live game, you'll still get access to all the match highlights too. So if Serie A is your thing, OneFootball is where it's at. We'll have a link in the description of the episode for you to buy your preferred stream.
Welcome to the Italian Football Podcast.
Let's talk about Nima's favourite subject now, away from Inter. Max Allegri has returned to Milan, appointed the new Milan coach, returning after 11 years away, replacing Sergio Conceição. 2-year contract, option of a third. Of course, he won the Scudetto in his first spell as manager in 2011. And just before we talk about him, I have to say that our patrons have been celebrating non-stop since this news, because they know that when Max Allegri is in Serie A, it means one thing. It means that myself and Nima are going to be arguing non-stop for the whole season about Allegri, because we all know that Nima is Allegri's biggest fan, and I'm his biggest enemy, let's say, right now. So Allegri is here, Nima. First of all, you're delighted, obviously, by this news.
Yes, I think he's an excellent coach. I think he comes back to a Milan with a point to prove, a Milan where everything is destroyed, and they need to rebuild a core with discipline and structure, and I think Allegri provides that. And it's an environment that he knows. It's going to be, Iglitare is there. I think that's the main thing. They actually have a sporting director with Iglitare. And I think the fact that I think those two will work very well together, that's very important. And I think that Milan are actually in a good position now. And even if with Tijani Reinders going and bringing in Ricci, I think that's a really smart move. We're going to talk about that in a bit. I think that's a smart move with Allegri coming in, that is. I think he will create a team that is structurally sound defensively. He'll create a structure there, and it will be a Milan where there's none of this, what we've seen this last 2 seasons, where under Fonseca, it feels like 2 seasons, it's only been 1. But there's going to be structure, there's going to be order, there's going to be coherence. Might not be pretty moving forward in terms of how they attack, but they will be a structured team. They'll be a balanced team. And let's remember, the Serie A is a league that is won by the team that concedes the least amount of goals. That's, like I said, in the last 11 seasons, 10 times that's been true. The only time it hasn't been true was when Sarri won it with Juve and they limped over the finish line.
Well, just to remind everyone, I think everybody knows, that when Allegri returned to Juventus in 2021, I was very much against it. I considered Allegri to be someone who was past his best and hasn't really moved with the times in modern football. And what we saw at Juventus, there was nothing that he showed at Juventus that suggested that wasn't the case, regardless of all the shit that's going on at Juventus and that continued under Thiago Motta, which proved that it wasn't just Allegri's fault, which isn't something I never said it was. But I saw nothing from Allegri at Juventus that suggested that he hasn't gone down the same path as Jose Mourinho, and which is a former legendary manager, one of the greatest managers that we've had in Italian football ever, but somebody who is now past his best. That is, for me, that is the starting point for Allegri now coming back into Milan. He's someone who is past his best, But we'll see whether he can change that, whether he can, he's been out of the game now for a year, whether he can try and reinvent himself and prove that he isn't past his best, that he still has something to give. And going into an environment, like you said, that he knows at Milan, he's got quality there. He's got developed, established players there, which we know he works better with those kind of players. Pulisic, Rafael Leao, Maignan. These are kind of players that Allegri generally kind of works well with. He doesn't work well with younger players. We'll see. Time will tell. I think this is last chance saloon though for Allegri. If he fails with Milan, I think he certainly won't get another top job if he fails with Milan. So so for Allegri has something to prove, I think, which may be a good thing. I want to see a more of a fired up Allegri, which maybe we didn't see, certainly not at the start of the Juventus run. I think he kind of went back to Juventus just thinking, you know what, I'm just going to waltz in there and I can just win. And then he quickly realized, oh shit, I'm going to have to really, pull my finger out and try and do something. And then, so Allegri has something to prove. What I would say though is that it does say something about the Milan project under Cardinale. It either means it's confused or it means they've made a U-turn on what they've consciously made a U-turn. It's one or the other. Either they don't know what they're doing and they're just desperate and they're just thinking, right, let's just get Allegri in. Or it's, okay, we're consciously changing because the Redbird project, the Cardinale project was, what you said before, this moneyball bollocks, as you called it. It was about sustainability. It's about buying younger players. It's about buying players that have a value that they can then sell on. But it's not about buying ready-made established players and winning. It's also about playing modern football, attractive football, attacking football. That was seen with the hire of Fonseca, for example, who we were very much against because we don't think he's at that level. But stylistically, somebody that plays good football, that plays front-footed football, wants to attack. Obviously, that was a disaster. They brought in Conte Sal, which was a complete change around. So that maybe was already suggesting a turnaround. But now they're hiring someone, Allegri, who's obviously, we know, he's a defensive manager. He's a counter-attacking manager. He's pragmatic. He only cares about winning. That goes, and he doesn't develop younger players. That goes completely against the whole ethos of what Cardinale and Redberg have always promised. And they were. I remember Ibrahimovic saying it last summer when they hired Fonseca, and they didn't hire Conte. He basically said Conte does not represent the Milan of Cardinale Redbird. He said, they had this. So now that's all out the window now. So it represents a complete turnaround in that aspect, I think, for sure.
100%. 100%. And they have to do that because they're not in Europe next season, and they need to come back to Europe. They need to come back to the Champions League, and Allegri will most likely do that. In fact, I would go so far as to say that given the mess at Juve, and if Inzaghi leaves Inter, Napoli and Milan are in excellent position to win the Serie A next season, because Conte staying there is continuity. Already they're bringing in De Bruyne, who's going to do well in the Serie A. We know that. There's talk of Jonathan David perhaps coming to Napoli as well. Inter have pulled out. It's between Juve and Napoli. That's a fantastic signing. It actually is looking like De Laurentiis is providing the kind of continuity once Osimhen has been sold as well, and they're actually providing the kind of continuity that Conte wants. And if he does that, well, I don't see why Napoli can't open up a winning cycle.
Yeah, we'll come to Napoli in a second. I just have one.
But also Milan, Allegri as well, because Allegri does risk minimize. And again, this is a league that rewards risk minimization more than often.
Well, one thing I will say on Allegri's side is that we know that Allegri likes to, with his attackers anyway. We know he's not good at constructing play, building up attacks, creating chances, but he likes to rely on attackers that are established already and give them the license and freedom to just do their thing and create for themselves. Now, in Rafael Leao, actually, in a weird way, even though he doesn't like defending, in a weird way, might actually be the kind of player that does well under Allegri.
Agreed.
Because he will just allow him to be himself, and even kind of like how Pioli did, he'll find a system and then let Rafael Leao do his thing. It might work. We'll see. But one thing I do want to say is, with Allegri, my message is, we know Allegri with youngsters, he doesn't develop them. That's just a fact. That's on record. He does not develop young players. That doesn't necessarily mean he doesn't play them. It just means he doesn't develop them. He's not good at improving young players. He wants established players. So my message to Francesco Camarda is, get the hell out of Milan now. Get out of Milan. Max Allegri is a disaster for young talents, and he can't develop young talents. Camarda should leave Milan. If Camarda stays at Milan, basically his options are getting scraps with the first team and not improving at all, not developing under Max Allegri, or he plays with Milan Futuro in an amateur league in Serie D against bin men and plumbers. So, Camarda, what's your choice? Scraps with Allegri or play against plumbers in Serie D? So I think, look, Camarda, Liberali, I don't think this isn't a good move. This is the negative, certainly a negative one. This isn't good for Camarda, Liberali, these kind of players. Because we know Allegri is not, that's just not what, you don't bring in Allegri if you want to try and bring through youngsters from your academy, improve them, because he doesn't have that. He's just not able to do that. He doesn't improve players, not young players anyway, attacking players, offensive players, maybe defenders. I think he'll be good for some of the defenders. I think, somebody like what's his name, the Serbian warlord, Pavlovic. Yeah, Pavlovic could be someone who develops well. I don't know why I said warlord. He just looks like a Serbian warlord. He looks like somebody you don't want to. He
looks like a bouncer at an underground, like after hours nightclub in Belgrade at 6 a.m.
Well, you don't want to face him on the battlefield either, do you?
No, he does have that kind of. Yeah, he looks like he does have that kind of
scary
vibe about him. Yeah,
I think he will improve, and I agree with you on Richie though. I think that
that's a smart move.
Richie will be good under Allegri because
it actually calms Milan. I know that they'll be unhappy that Reinders is sold, but if you're going to bring in Allegri, you need to get rid of Reinders, and you need someone like Samuel Ricci. I think that's just a smart move.
Well, they've needed Ricci for the last 3 years. They've needed somebody at the base of the midfield. Since Benacer got injured, they've needed somebody that can protect the defence, which will help the defence not be so leaky. They've missed that for ages. And so regardless of what happens with Reinders, it looks like he's going to leave to Man City. It's a huge, again, it's as bad for Milan as it is for Italian football that we can't keep hold of our best players. Unfortunately, it is what it is.
No, but I think this is a smart move, my Milan. If you bring in Allegri, Reinders is useless. He's not going to be given the freedom he wants to express the football that he has. It's just stupid to keep him. At this point, they need Ricci more than they need Reinders under Allegri. So I think that's actually a smart move by Milan. And they'll have money over to spend as well, which they definitely need, given that they're not in Europe anyway. So this is just, I don't have a problem with this if the replacement is Samuel Ricci. But we'll have to wait and see.
He doesn't have the same. They're going to still need someone to provide goals from midfield. So I still think they're going to need to buy somebody else in centre midfield.
But it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Theo Hernandez now. Theo
Hernandez is a club decision. They decide to sell him. They're not going to give him the money for he's asking for. So I don't see him. I don't see him signing a new contract. Put it that way. He either gets sold or he runs down his contract.
Yeah,
I think it's one of the other.